What if I told you Thanos wasn't entirely wrong? No, this isn't a defense of genocide. But what if beneath the Infinity Gauntlet and behind the Mad Titan's twisted smile, there was still a glimpse of uncomfortable truth? In this journey, we won't just explore what Thanos did, we'll explore why he did it, and more importantly, what it says about us. Thanos believed the universe was out of balance. Too many mouths, not enough resources. His solution? Kill half of all life? Randomly, fairly efficiently, he called it mercy. To him, wiping out half the population wasn't cruelty, it was a cure. It's like pruning a tree to help it grow. It sounds horrifying, and it is. But here's the question that lingers. Why did that logic resonate with so many people? Because beneath the violence lies a fear we all share. Overpopulation, scarcity, collapse. These are real issues in Thanos. He became a symbol for our desperation to fix a broken system, no matter the cost. When Avengers Infinity War hit theaters in 2018, something unexpected happened. Online communities erupted. Hashtags like #Thanos was right trended. Memes spread like wildfire. Even t-shirts appeared. Why? Because people looked around and saw traffic jams, climate change, pollution, poverty, war. They thought, maybe, just maybe, Thanos had a point. Even real scientists and commentators were drawn into the debate. Ecologists referenced Earth's limited carrying capacity. Economists highlighted the unsustainable strain on global resources. Of course, we're not in a comic book, and the real solutions aren't found in genocide. Still, the fact that people sympathized even briefly tells us something important. Thanos' philosophy struck a nerve. What he proposed, in essence, was a form of utilitarianism. The idea that the best course of action is the one that produces the greatest good for the greatest number. He genuinely believed his snap would save billions in the long run. No more wars over resources, no more famine. Planets could thrive again. It's not unlike real-world debates, where difficult decisions must be made about limited resources. Who gets the organ transplant? Who gets the ventilator during a pandemic? These are real ethical dilemmas. And Thanos' solution mirrored the same logic, just magnified 1,000 times. But there's a catch. Intentions don't justify actions. Thanos removed choice. He didn't ask, he didn't listen. He imposed his vision, not through diplomacy or innovation, but with violence. And that's not utilitarianism. That's authoritarianism, wearing a philosophical mask. It's worth asking what Thanos actually got right. He correctly identified a problem. Unchecked growth in a finite system. That's real. That's happening. But his solution, fundamentally flawed. Killing half the population doesn't solve the root problem. Populations regrow. Civilizations rebuild. Within a few generations, we'd be right back to the same point. And in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Infinity Gauntlet gave him omnipotence. He could have doubled resources, created sustainable energy, eliminated hunger, disease, poverty. Instead, he chose to kill. And that tells us something even more revealing. Thanos didn't truly want balance. He wanted control. Didn't use the gauntlet to solve problems. He used it to enforce his will. That's not wisdom. It's ego. Digging deeper into his psychology, Thanos is not just a villain. He's a mirror, reflecting our own fears about the future. People gravitate toward characters like him because he is decisive. He is certain. In a chaotic world, certainty can be comforting, even seductive. Think about cults. Think about authoritarian regimes. They don't rise through logic, they rise through certainty. Thanos spoke in absolutes. Absolutes provide clarity, especially in moments of fear and uncertainty. Even his followers, like the Black Order, believed they were doing something noble. They viewed his mission as righteous. That's the danger of ideology without empathy. It blinds. It turns complex problems into simple, violent solutions. There's another misconception in Thanos' plan. The idea that the problem is population, but data from our real world tells a different story. The Earth already produces enough food to feed more than 10 billion people, yet nearly 800 million go hungry. Not because we lack food, but because we lack fairness. The problem isn't scarcity, it's distribution. Don't have too little, we have too much. Concentrated in the hands of too few. Thanos never addressed that. He never tried to fix inequality, simply pressed the reset button. And when we treat people as numbers, as statistics, we lose sight of their humanity. That's where both Thanos and many real-world systems fail. Contrast this with the Avengers. They didn't just fight Thanos because he took their loved ones. They fought him because of what he stood for. A worldview where power equals justice, where the strong impose order on the weak, where might makes right. The true heroism of the Avengers wasn't in their strength. It was in their refusal to give up on humanity. Tony Stark's final act wasn't an act of vengeance. It was sacrifice. He didn't erase his enemies out of anger, gave up his own life to save the future, without becoming the monster he fought. That's the core difference. Thanos believed the universe was beyond saving. The heroes believed it was worth fighting for, flaws and all. Still, we keep returning to Thanos. He lingers in the collective consciousness because he represents something deeper than villainy. He represents a question we all carry. What happens when our systems fail? When our leaders disappoint us? When our resources run dry? When our hopes feel too small for the problems we face? Thanos didn't invent those fears. He exposed them. He turned them into action. Brutal final action. And in doing so, he forced us to confront the real challenge. Real change doesn't come from a snap of the fingers. It comes from collective effort, innovation, compassion, sacrifice. It doesn't come from choosing who lives or dies, but from learning how to live together sustainably. Was Thanos right? But he wasn't completely wrong either. He asked a question we're still struggling to answer. And maybe that's the lesson of the snap. Not that we need less life, but that we need more courage to change the way we live. More empathy, more responsibility, more unity. Because in the end, it's not about power, it's about purpose. Thanos thought he could save the universe alone, but saving the future, that takes all of us together.